Hello, YouTubers, friends, compatriots, bootlicker, shills, death lace, hearts, heads, vassals, minions, gun owners. I'm a useful idiot. Welcome. And today I want to talk about this whole Santa Barbara shooting. And I stay away from doing videos about these mass shootings, which do seem to be getting very frequent and all have a lot of strange anomalies to them. And I leave it to other pundits to just explore and look at all the possibilities for conspiracy and fraud. And there seems to be a lot of it, but I can't get bogged down in that sort of thing. But it is interesting to watch these details emerge. And certainly now that I'm aware of these crisis actors and these organizations being used, and then seeing these events, it's clear to see that a lot of these people, including this distressed father that we see on the news, all over the news now, a son who was shot randomly during this event. And I can't make up my mind whether he is for real or not, because in some senses, of course, somebody who is distraught is going to be a cartoon of sorts, because their behavior and emotions are going to be so exaggerated. But on the other hand, there's just so many strange things about some of these people we see on television, and the way, an odd, strange way they express themselves, and the way they use their emotions. In this case, I want to speak directly to the father who came out, and rather than think of his grief, was his very fresh loss. He goes on TV and talks about a political agenda and the cravenest politician. He blames the cravenest politicians in the NRA and blaming guns, and sets out a political agenda in his moment of grief, and then ends his harangue with the phrase "not one more." And this is very important to remember, because you're going to be hearing that phrase a lot. It seems almost inevitable that was either orchestrated, that he would say that, or it certainly is going to be used as the mantra for the new push for gun control. So mark my words, we're going to hear, how many more will it take? Not one more. So watch for that. And then we recently had that same father come out on the news, and once again, because he's so struck with grief that he wants to be interviewed by reporters nonstop now. And the same father comes out and says that haven't we learned our lesson because after Sandy Hook? So that's another odd, politically motivated thing to say in light of this tragedy. And but I also want to get into some of these details, because this whole idea of gun control, this whole idea that he's blaming craven politicians and the NRA, but it seems rather interesting that he doesn't. Nobody talks about knife control, and so we don't have anybody calling for the United Food Workers of America and an army of prep cooks out there with chef knives. We don't hear anything challenges to them. And the fact that this killer, Edgar Jones, killed the first 3 people in his apartment with a knife. But there's no talk about knife control. But it does prove the point, if you want to kill somebody, there's plenty of ways to do it. You don't necessarily have to have a gun. And also, they don't blame the car manufacturers. So he was able to stab a bunch of people, and then because he's able to be mobile, in this mobility that this psycho killer is given, to go around and kill a whole bunch of other people in a wide range of area, because he has access to an automobile. And but nobody's really going to talk about automobile control. And in fact, I'm kind of surprised sometimes that these killers always choose guns. Why wouldn't they take a car and just plow into a crowd? Why wouldn't somebody like this Edgar Jones take his this brand new BMW coupe that his mother gave him, and why wouldn't he just drive it into the sorority at the right moment and kill as many sorority girls as he could? And I also want to bring up the idea that how come nobody talks about the parents. We'll talk about the parents of the shooter, And the part that gets me as well is we have so much outcry about gun control in this country, and yet the United States is the leading exporter of guns around the world to all these regions. So when you see these slaughters going on all over the globe, that's American. In a lot of cases, it's American-made weapons all over the globe, allowing people to slaughter each other. So it seems like somewhat of a double standard in a way. And then we also have the fact that nobody seems to have a lot of outcry that 5,000 Americans a year are shot by the police, and that'd be some gun control I could probably get behind. Or the fact that how come there's no outcry? And this is a good one. I'm sure a lot more people are killed by distracted drivers on cell phones than are killed by random shooters. I can guarantee you that, and without having the figures. And yet nobody's calling on the technological companies or the phone companies or the auto companies to all get together and figure out a way so that people are not on the phone while they're driving. It's fairly simple technology. There's just no will. And then the fact that we also have the population in general doesn't want to sacrifice the convenience in order to make the world a safer place. So that's just an irony for me as far as the gun control crowd goes. And so in the end, it's interesting. It doesn't really matter whether the incident is staged or not. Although that's an interesting idea to explore in itself. That a lot of people out there and pundits speculate that a lot of these events, like the Boston bombing, are completely and utterly staged. And I don't really want to get into that debate. I find that kind of stuff very interesting, and I like exploring it. And there's a lot of unanswered questions, and I think it's most important to ask questions, not to remain silent and accept what we see. Because the simple fact is, when you sit down and think about it, since most people are only exposed to the images in a limited scope on television or on YouTube or somewhere else, very easily to manipulate what is a real event and what is not. Who's to say? It's very easy to stage these things, as we saw in that video coming out of Syria, how carefully a staged event could be done and then sold all over the world as a real event. And also, I think that ties in with the fact, too, that it doesn't really matter. The father's head has been filled with propaganda about gun control. The whole cliche about blaming politicians and the NRA and having more gun control is going to solve these kind of problems. And so the father has been so indoctrinated. So we can't rule out the fact that that might be something he would spew at a moment's notice, because people have been so indoctrinated with that mantra. But the problem is that he becomes a useful idiot, because he has been indoctrinated with that propaganda, and now he is going to be a very giant and effective tool to perpetuate that propaganda more. I guess you could call it a propaganda multiplier. And so we see a payoff for that indoctrination of crowds, because all it takes is one person like this to repeat that indoctrination at the right moment, and it becomes a very effective tool indeed. And then you have to look at this guy, Edgar Rogers himself. I mean, as far as this story is concerned, he's both a believable character and an unbelievable character. In any case, having seen the videos and read some of his 140-page manifesto, he's as pathetic a character as one could come across, and I have certainly no sympathy for him. What a bizarre world of privilege he lived in. He had everything someone could have in the world, but all he wanted to do was get laid. And I have to question the motive, too, because a young man of his means could easily have hired hookers, and his parents, from what I understand of his parents, they would eagerly hire him hookers. And since he is in the Hollywood, Santa Barbara environment, it can't be that hard to find a hooker there. So that, for some reason, that kind of undermines the story a little bit for me too. But like I say, I'll leave all of that kind of speculation to someone else. I just wanted to address some of these misguided gun control issues that are brought up in these kind of situations. And as those kind of things go, this is a doozy. It has all the earmarks of a carefully manipulated event in a lot of ways, and so I don't want to rule that out. And it does seem to be adamant, this agenda at this moment, and they're going to keep hammering it home. And how convenient to have someone come out and his first speech after the incident is an impassioned political speech that touches on all the hot points for the gun control crowd. And last but not least, I want to add that the one thing we know for sure about this event is that Edgar Jones will have the biggest fan club of teenage girls probably ever. He's going to make the Boston Bomber teenage girl fan club look like the Mickey Mouse Club. And he may end up very well being the Justin Bieber of dead celebrity psycho mass murderers. I'm a useful idiot. Don't you be one too.